Parashat Vaishlach starts with the story of Yaakov Avinu sending messengers to Esav to give him a message that he is ready for his friendship and is not looking to harm him in any way, and is looking to bring back the relationship as brothers. But the wording that he uses, Rashi explains in different ways, and we'll see inside. It says in the pasuk the following: "וישלח יעקב מלאכים לפניו, אל עשיו אחיו ארצה שעיר שדה אדום." Yaakov Avinu sends messengers to Esav, his brother, to Edom. ויצב אותם לאמור. This is what he commanded them to say. "כה תאמרון לאדוני לעשיו." This is what you should say to my master Esav. Look how much respect he gives Esav. Why is that? Because Esav, which represents, is the father of Edom, represents the Edom empire, and everybody that came from them are in much of need of respect, and therefore you need to fit into that respect. If you disrespect them, it becomes very, very dangerous. And we need to know that even in our days, many of our neighbors are descendants of Edom. Many of the peoples that are ruling are the people that come from Edom. You have to give them the utmost respect. If you disrespect them in any way, whether it is by making all kind of demonstrations or speaking to them in a foul language or doing any other thing that would be disrespectful to them, it becomes very dangerous, because they would not give up their respect, they will not forgive their respect, and they'll go to bite you for hurting their honor. Therefore it says, "ויצב אותם לאמור, כה תאמרון לאדוני לעשיו." This is how you should speak to my master Esav. "כה אמר עבדך יעקב." This is what your slave Yaakov said. Imagine today speaking like that. Today we think we're smarter than Yaakov. This is the way you talk to Esav. This is the way Yaakov presents himself in front of Esav. Your slave Yaakov. Im Lavan garti v'charadata. I lived with Lavan and I delayed until now. What does that mean? Im Lavan garti. Very famous Rashi. Rashi says, Im Lavan garti, Im Lavan harasha garti. I lived with the wicked Lavan. In other words, when he speaks to Esav, he can call Lavan wicked. In front of Esav, in front of Lavan, you don't talk like that. V'taryag mitzvot shamarti. And I kept the whole 613 mitzvot. Ve'lo lamati mima'asav harim. I did not learn from his bad actions, bad deeds. So, in one hand, he's telling him what? Rashi tells us that I kept the entire Torah while I lived with Lavan. Says the Siftei Chachamim that the message that he was telling him is the following: Klomar ve'en ata yachol li. You can't win me in any way. Why is that? דעת יברך אותי אותך אביך ועל חרבך תחיה, היינו דווקא בבעיה כי אשר תריד, אבל אני קיימתי את כל התורה כולה. Which means like this. His father Yitzchak told them that all the blessings go to Yaakov Avinu. And Esav came crying. So Yitzchak told Esav, you have a way out. And you have a way how to be able to win over Yaakov, to be able to defeat Yaakov. And what is that? V'akasher tarid. If he would not keep the mitzvot, so then he'll take off the yoke that you have on your neck, and then you'll be able to exercise what it says, V'al charbecha tichyeh. You'll be able to take the sword and do as you wish with that sword, which is obviously the main profession of Esav, to be able to kill and do all those things that he is so excellent with. So therefore, Rashi tells us that Yaakov's message to Esav was, don't think you can hurt me in any way. I'm very, very strong. What's the proof to that? Because I kept the entire Torah the entire time. And therefore, the bracha that our father gave us still holds. On the other hand, he says, עם לבן גרתי, ואיכר עד עתה, רש"י says, לא נעשיתי שר וחשוב, אלא גר. I did not become anything important. I'm a nobody. I'm just like a girl. I'm a regular person. אינך כדאי לשנוא אותי על ברכות אביך שברכני וגביר לאחיך. Don't feel bad about what our father blessed me, that you should be the master. Yitzchak said to Yaakov, you'll be the master. No, I'm just a ger. Ger means somebody that's new in a place. That's the Lashon ger that Rashi tells us. Which means whenever a person comes to a new place, is a newcomer, that's called a ger. So I'm still like a ger. I don't even have my own place. I'm not stable in any place. I'm nothing important. What our father gave us and said to me, Hevek vir la'achicha, you will be the master to your brother, lo nitkaima bi, were not fulfilled in me. So Rashi tells us two pshatim. Then he tells us, davar acher, garti, is the second thing. Rashi tells us two things that seem to be contradicting. On one hand, he tells him, I'm nobody, I'm just a newcomer in a place, and I'm not stable, and I'm not successful in any way. But on the other hand, Rashi tells us that the message was that I'm very, very strong and powerful, and you're not going to be able to hurt me in any way. So we need to know that there's two approaches, but both are true, and both should be taken at the same time. In one hand, when we deal with somebody like Esav, or anybody else for the same matter, you have to give him a lot of respect when you deal with him. If he's coming to hurt you, we have to treat him with much respect. That's what it teaches us over here. But on the other hand, to show him that we're not weak. Why is that? Because any of the things you'll do, you might get hurt. If you disrespect him, even if you're very strong, Esav can't handle it. He just needs his honor, he needs his respect, and he's willing, Tamud Nafshim Plishtim, he's willing to die just to keep his honor and respect. And we see that all the time. People are willing to go to jail, just stab somebody that knocked into them in the supermarket, shoot him in the head just because he took their parking spot, or so on and so forth. This is Esav. They don't think beyond. Right now, they got their honor was disrespected, was crushed. So they're willing to go to jail for another 30, 40 years, or even be killed at the spot just to keep their honor. That's one hand. So therefore, don't agitate that. Make sure that you give him the honor needed. But on the other hand, if you feel and show and reflect that you're weak, they very much detect it. They see it right away. They smell it right away. They feel it right away, and they'll go for it, and they'll hurt you. And that's we see also, that whenever a person is weak, they'll stomp over him, literally, and they'll do all kind of vicious thing to such a person. Why? He's weak. He's defenseless. Because of that, you have to show both ends. That's the reason Yaakov Avinu does three things before he goes to meet with Esav. He prepares a gift, mincha. He gives him a gift. Why? To show respect, to show that you honor him. And with that, you calm down his grave need for the honor that motivates him, that moves him. On the other hand, he's preparing lemilchama, for war. Also, he goes to do tefillah, he goes to Hashem. Of course, that's extremely important. But towards Esav, he does two things. One, the gift, the honor. Second, milchama, to show him, I'm prepared. I can fight a war. I'm not scared in any way. We see the same idea when the brothers meet with Yosef. When they meet with Yosef, they come in front of Yosef, and which they didn't know at the time he was Yosef, and they talk to him very harshly, as we see in the beginning of Parashat Vaigash. Vaigash elav Yehuda vayomer. Yehuda approaches Yosef, which he didn't know. Again, he was Yosef. He thought he was the ruler of Mitzrayim, and he tells him the following: Bi Adoni yadaber na avdecha davar beoznei Adoni ve'al yichar apecha be'avdecha ki chamocha ke Paro. So in one hand, it speaks to him very respectfully. Bi Adoni, my master. Yadaber na davar avdecha davar beoznei Adoni, your slave, which refers to him, to Yehuda, will speak something in the ears of my master. ואל יחרפך ועבדך, do not get angry at me, כי כמוך כפרעה. You are equivalent to Paro. What does that mean? Pashtut, what it means, you are respected, you are honored as Paro. That is the simple understanding. But, and Rashi starts off with that. חשוב אתה בעיניי כמלך. I look at you, although you're not the king, you're second to the king, in my eyes you are like the king himself. Very, very important. Such honor. But he gives him another message. There's two messages in his words. In other words, there's the way you talk and present yourself, and then there's a hidden message that's not less important than the first message. What is that? מדרשו סופך ללקוט עליו בצרת כמו שלקה פרעה על ידי זקנתי שרה לילה אחת שיקבע. You'll be hurt just like Paro was hurt from Sarah Imenu. Secondly, he says to him, מה פרעה גוזר ואינו מקיים, מבטיח ואינו עושה, אף אתה כן, and we'll take action for that, and we'll make a war against you, and we'll be able to hurt you very, very much. That's the message he gives him. In other words, it's a double message over here. In one hand, the respect that a person needs. You speak to the second in command. You have to give him a lot of respect and honor. But on the other hand, you put a message in there that you're prepared to fight a war. You decide. You have two choices. Either take the honor and you'll be respected, but if you don't do as we tell you, then we're ready and prepared to fight the war. Same thing we found in our parasha. Our parasha speaks about evil people, Shechem, Hamor, and the whole city of Shechem that violated Dinah. Now, what do you do in such a case? What do you do then? So the brothers understand, Shimon and Levi understand, that you can't let such a thing just go quietly. You have to make sure that you'll do and take action. Why that? Because when you do that, if you're not going to do anything, in other words, you have to build up a deterrence. You have to build up a threat. You can't let such a thing happen without doing anything, because if you will, bad things could happen again. If you feel and show that you're weak, they'll smell that and they'll come biting you again. So therefore, what do? They go with full force. They do a lot of smart things, and then they go to kill the entire city and send the message to any surrounding neighbors or anybody around that don't mess with us. We are strong. If you respect us, we'll respect you. If you decide to hurt us in any way, we'll go after you. And that's how it says in Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. He says beautiful. He says that although Yaakov Avinu was very, very upset, afterwards we'll see that he curses them, Aru Apam Kiaz. Although he was very upset, but Shimon and Levi felt that this is something that needs to be done. Why is that? So he says the following. רעיון זה עורר בליבם את ההכרה שיש רגעים, sometimes there are instances, בהם גם משפחת יעקב תאחז בחרב. Although Yaakov Avinu, family, Am Israel, they don't need to hold a sword anytime, because their specialty is the learning Torah. Their profession is doing mitzvot, not holding a sword and killing. But sometimes you have to hold the sword. Why? The deterrence. Sometimes you have to go for war. Sometimes you have to show your surroundings that you're a very strong country. Sometimes you have to build a nuclear power. Why? To threaten all those that are surrounding you don't do anything. יש רגעים בהם גם משפחת יעקב תאחז בחרב כדי להגן על כבוד ותואר, כל עוד יכבד העולם רק את זכותו של זה שהכוח עומד לצידו. Unfortunately, says Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, that the world respects power, and if you show yourself weak, then they'll stomp over you, they'll hurt you, they'll kill you, they'll take everything that you have. But if you show power, then people will stay away. In Islam, there's such a concept that they'll give you a temporary peace agreement as long as they feel that you're powerful. Once you show weakness, they're not allowed. That's in the Quran. You're not allowed to give peace to the weak. But if somebody is very strong and you can't defeat him, so you give him a temporary peace agreement. That's how it is. So over here, people respect power, unfortunately. Therefore, צריך גם יעקב לאמן את ידיו בחרב. Therefore, יעקב אבינו also need to know how to hold arm. הם גם לא ביקשו לנהוג בחוכמה, הם רצו להפיל את אימתם על הבריות. All they wanted, Shimon and Levi, is to build deterrence, to show people that don't start with us. שלא יעיזו אחרים לעשות כדבר הזה. Nobody should dare to do the same thing again. בנות יעקב לא תהיינה הפקר. Otherwise, if you keep quiet, the next daughter of Yaakov is in stake. הם הרחיקו לכת כאשר הרגו צדיקים בעוון רשעים תקפים. This is also the Ramban explains like that. Why is it that Yaakov Avinu was upset at Shimon and Levi? He kept quiet the whole time. He didn't say anything. He knew that they're going to, they made an agreement with Hamor and the entire city of Shechem to have them mal and afterwards marry them. So why did Yaakov keep quiet? Because Yaakov thought, says the Ramban, that they just want to punish those the ones that are guilty. Hamor, that's all. But not to hurt the entire city on that. That was wrong. And then Yaakov, the Ramban explains why did they have a right also to do what they did. But the pshat over here is that they went a little bit further than needed to hurt the entire city, to kill the entire city. Why is that? It says here that the reason was to build deterrence, to threaten those that want to do harm to Yaakov Avinu's family. מעניינת הסמיכות בין המעשה הזה לבין מעשה שלפניו. He says, if you take a look, it's interesting, the connection or how close it is, the story of Esav, that his profession is the sword, are the wars that he goes to throughout history, war after war, all the time. Then what happened over here with Yaakov's family, that their profession throughout history, Am Yisrael don't go to wars, only to defend themselves. Whenever Am Yisrael needs to defend themselves, that's the only time they'll go to a war. But otherwise they don't. So over here, it shows you the contrast, and it shows you that here's a war of Esav, here's the sword of Esav, here's the sword of Yaakov. Yaakov Avinu has to hold the sword only when it's absolutely necessary. לשעה קלה ראינו שם כמין כל יעקב התעוררות של רגש אנושי בלב עשיו. Yaakov, that is known for his sound, for his voice, הקול קול יעקב, for the Torah, for the learning, for the praying, sometimes has to hold the sword like עשיו. וראינו בכך ניצוץ ראשון לרוח אנושית העתירה להביא לידי התפתחות המלאה גם בעשיו. גם אנחנו רואים לשעה קלה את חרבו של עשיו ביד בני יעקב. Here we see the sword of Esav in the hands of Yaakov. להעברת דברי ישראל אנחנו למדים, בסופו של דבר סולדת נפש עמנו משפיכות עמים. עם ישראל hate שפיכות עמים. עם ישראל doesn't stand killing, even enemies. Therefore we are so mercy. We are רחמנים שבאומות. הרי לא חולשתנו רוח לבבנו הביאונו לידי כך. The very important message is that don't think that since we are such merciful people, רחמנים, גומלי חסדים, ביישנים, all the midot tovot that Am Yisrael have, don't think that it comes from a weak point of view. Don't think that because of those qualities you can hurt us in any way. No. הימים האחרונים של המדינה היהודית גילו לכל את אומץ ליבנו ודוח רוחנו המלחמתית. זה רב שמשון נפל הרש. If you take a look at the מדינה היהודית, at the state of Israel, you see that no, Am Yisrael, that came out of the Holocaust, that were weak in every possible way. When they needed, they knew how to hold on, and when they needed, they knew how to fight a war, and they knew exactly what to do at the war. All the strongest armies in the world had to come and help those enemies against small little nation that are so weak. And it was almost inevitable that Am Yisrael would lose such a war, but when you see that Am Yisrael needs to hold on, they would. יכולים גם אנחנו להניף את החרב, יכולים גם אנחנו להיות צמאי דם, רוחנו האנושית והרכה הינה פרי לחינוך שהקדוש ברוך הוא העניק לנו וגורלנו ותורתנו. Unbelievable, beautiful words that we're learning over here, that sometimes you need, and it keeps on going, sometimes you need to indeed hold arms, and sometimes you need to do what's right just in order to protect yourself from the future. This very idea is always needs to be analyzed at the right time, which means sometimes you can't hold arms in any way because you indeed will be defeated. As we see, the Gemara in Brachot tells us that whenever you have somebody who's wicked, Rasha, Hasha'a mesacheket lo. Sometimes you have a person that's wicked. If you see that Hasha'a mesacheket lo, the time is successful for him, and he's very, very successful at what he's doing, everything goes well, so then don't start with him. Leave him alone. That's not the time. And the Gemara tells us in length over there, when is it that you are allowed to go and start a war against him, or agitate him, להתגרות ברשעים, as the Gemara calls it. להתגרות ברשעים, the Gemara says 3 different answers when one is allowed to agitate a rasha, a wicked person, and when you're not allowed to start with him in any way.